Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Sally. I am with the Office of Nationally Competitive Awards on UK's campus, and we work with students who are applying for external awards and scholarships and fellowships external to UK. So today we are talking about the Teaching Assistant Program in France, which is one of the programs that we work with. And we are thrilled and honored to have two esteemed alumni from that program, Calli and Nick Hodge. And so I am going to let them kind of take over and tell you a little bit about their experience in France. And also, I know Callie's going to talk a little bit about the logistics of the program. So you all can take it away.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for having us. Like Emily said, we're going to be talking about TAPIF. This was a great option for me and Nick, I think, for being able to have a visa to live in France and kind of experience the culture in a classroom setting, as well as in our own personal lives there. And so I wanted to start with just letting Nick talk a little bit about his experience. I actually just got back from France, so I was there this past academic year, 2020 to 2021, and COVID had locked down everything essentially. So my experience was pretty unique, I think. But Nick went from 2018 to 2019 pre-COVID. And so I think he'll have a little better perspective on what it would really be like if you end up doing TAPIF. So I will let him start here.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Callie. So pictured is a shot of Beauvais, France. It's a town of about, well, town might be the wrong word, but it's about 50 to 55,000 people. And it's about an hour north of Paris. So I spent a lot of time here in Beauvais and Paris. I had no idea where this was when I got assigned to this region, but I'm really glad I ended up here. It was a really great spot. I don't know, Bailey, what your interests are, or anyone else watching, what you're interested in, but just to give you some background, I studied architecture. I minored in French, and then after I did a study abroad program with the architecture program, I added a French minor that turned into a major, just because I enjoyed the language. But just to be clear, you don't have to want to be a teacher, have any teaching experience, any of that. Like, they just want a native English speaker that has some French skills. Moderate French skills, just to get around. But it was a really, really wonderful experience. And I really enjoyed living in this town, being able, there's so many, I mean, you can see there's a beautiful cathedral with an interesting history, the proximity to Paris, the ability to hop on a train or a bus and get anywhere and just explore. And even for me, from an architectural perspective, it was just so wonderful to be able to use that time out of the classroom to kind of really continue my architectural education just by physically exploring historic sites across France and Europe. So, Callie, is there another slide for me? Okay. Oh, well, I think I've jumped out of myself. This is that cathedral I was mentioning. I actually lived 10 minutes away from here, if you can believe that. It's this gorgeous cathedral. It was at one point, or I think it is still, the tallest interior space in France, but it's only halfway built and part of it collapsed. It's a very interesting story. But then on the right, you can see how close I was to Paris. I was in the Academy of Amiens, it's a region just north of Paris. Beautiful place. I also studied abroad on the southern coast in Montpellier, so I kind of got the opposite side of things. But truly, wherever you get placed, I think you will find that you can take a lot from any school you get placed in. I taught at a high school, and I had a variety of students kind of between freshman age, like 14, 15, up to their senior year. I had students that were studying design. I had students that were in a more technical program, kind of learning how to be mechanics. Very, very broad group of students, and I really enjoyed all of them. And I have, like I mentioned before, I don't have any previous teaching experience. I don't really plan on being a teacher, but it was just a really cool way to share my language skills and culture with a group of students in France and kind of learn from them. And my teachers, and I definitely improved my French while I was there, in addition to all the architectural sightseeing I got to do. And yeah, just I made some friends. You'll meet so many people if you do it. On the left is a friend of mine from England. She was another assistant in the region. And on the right, those are my 4 French roommates, and that was our Christmas party. But you'll have a really fun opportunity to meet other people your age from across the world, and from the US as well. And I just had such a great time exploring with friends, getting to know people from other places in the world, and living with French people really helped my French skills. So if you do end up applying and you can find a way to find a host family or live with other French students, I would highly recommend it. It's just so much fun, and your French skills will vastly improve. Yeah, and then everything you've seen has been in Beauvais. On the left, it's 2 French women that I met in my town, and on the far left, she was from Germany, so she was a German assistant. So within the same school district, you have people from all over the world assisting in different language programs. I think we had all over Western Europe, a few from China, and then the US and Canada. And then on the right is the Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. Like I mentioned, the proximity to Paris was wonderful.
So yeah, I think that's what I have from Nick's perspective. Do you want to say anything else about your overall experience, Nick?
I just highly recommend it. I kind of yeah, I had the best time, and I think it was more than just like a fun trip. I really think it has impacted me from a language perspective. My references in my current work, I work in architecture and planning, doing a master's in architecture, but I think my references for my own career are more relevant or more on the forefront of my mind. So I just think even if you're not interested in teaching or your French skills or whatever, I think there's something to be taken from this. And we might mention at the end, but I'm happy to share my email, and you can give me any questions that you may have later on. And that's for anyone watching this video later on too.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, Nick. If you have any, I'm going to go through some of the logistics of applying for the program. Nick, you've been through the application process as well. So if you have anything to add or anything that I missed, feel free to just jump in.
Yep.
But here are the basics. So the application for the next academic year, which would be October through April, so 2022 to 2023, is going to open in mid-October. And normally that's due mid-January. I want to say January 15th is the date that normally is. Maybe with COVID, they might end up changing that, but it's normally around when it's due. So in mid-October, you can just check the website and see when that opens up and start your application that way. So basically the program provides graduates with an opportunity to teach in France. So you can teach at an elementary school or a middle school or a high school. I was actually in a middle school. Well, it was like their equivalent of a middle school. So like 3 to 4 like age groups, and it was super fun. And middle schoolers are just a little crazy, but I had a great time, and I only had half the class every other week. So they had like a group A and a group B from each class. And so I only had about 15 students. And apart from that, I was just planning sorts of like games and lesson plans. Sometimes they would go along with what the teacher was like the kind of chapter they were in of like the book. And sometimes I would just talk about Thanksgiving, and so really there was a lot of freedom with that, which I liked a lot. And obviously living in France was a super big plus. So like I said, how long? It's about 8 to 9 months. Normally it's October 1st through April 30th. I think normally there's an orientation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick.
That's
yeah, there's
correct,
an orientation normally. This year, a lot of us got there late because the visas were held up because of COVID. It was just kind of a mess. And so I ended up missing that. So I can't speak to that very much. But I assume in the orientation, they would talk about, settling in France. Nick, do you remember what yours was like?
Yeah. So I mentioned I was in the Academy of Amiens, so that we all went to Amiens for a 1 or 2 day orientation where they It was a really great opportunity to meet other assistants in your region. So a lot of my friends actually didn't live in Beauvais, but they would live kind of a town over or something. So it was a great opportunity to meet other assistants and network that way. They'd help you get your national, I forget the exact term, your health card, where how you would go to the doctor if you needed to. That they would help you set that up. You can also purchase additional insurance that's always offered. They recommended it to my cohort. And it was an opportunity to ask questions about what expectations were, more specifically to people that worked in your academic network.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was the carte vitale. Is that right, Nick?
That's right. Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Vitale. I never got mine because
I didn't
COVID.
either.
You didn't?
No, I didn't get the physical card, but I was able to visit the doctor. It's a long story.
Yeah, no, I visited the doctor and then COVID had pushed back everything. Hopefully things will have opened back up in a way that process is a little faster if you go. But yeah, no, so going down a point, touching on that, you'll receive medical insurance and a monthly stipend. So about 700 euros to 785. That's after taxes. So that's what's coming into your bank account. You'll end up opening a bank. You'll have to go in for like the doctor's visit that we mentioned for the medical insurance, and you'll have to open a phone plan. All of those things are kind of on your own. So this program is pretty independent in the sense of, while you can look on Facebook groups and stuff like that, and there's a million resources for figuring out how to navigate everything once you get there, you're not necessarily going to have someone from the government there to go in with you, for example. I had a super helpful teacher at my school, one of the English teachers, who helped me with some of the things when I had questions. But apart from that, I went in with a few American friends to open my bank account and start my phone plan and everything like that. And it's pretty straightforward, honestly. I've taught in Spain through a similar government program, and this one's a little easier, I will say. So I was very pleased with that. So we also advise that you save up a little bit of money before you go. Sometimes that first payment can arrive a little late into the bank account. And also, it's just better to have a little cushion so you're not freaking out in a new country when you get there. Also for like moving in and everything like that. The flights there and back are not covered by the program, so you will have to pay for that if you're going to go. That's pretty typical of teaching programs, unless you do Fulbright, which pays for it. But with this one, you'll have to pay for flights. And then there's also something called a KEF. It's like a government aid for you to pay rent, basically. And so basically you make, if you make a certain amount of money that's under, that's like basically low enough, which is what we would make as teaching assistants, then you get help, like a certain amount of payment, a certain payment per month to help pay for your apartment or wherever you end up staying. What a lot of teaching assistants will do when it comes to finding an apartment is, a lot of people will get to France and then they'll get an Airbnb or something cheap for a couple of weeks. And then they'll look at apartments that way. That's what a couple of my friends did. And so you can live with assistants, other assistants who are moving to your city. Like I said, there's a Facebook group normally for each region, and people will talk about where they're going to be. Sometimes there's WhatsApp group messages and things of that sort. And you can look on like that way to find a roommate if you want. Otherwise, there are websites where you can look for just a room and go completely random. And basically people who are searching for a roommate will just be like, yeah, we need one roommate. I had a friend who did that and ended up living with an Italian guy and had a great time. So you need to be a little wary about it, obviously, before, you want to meet them before you agree to it and everything like that. So I would say in general, don't sign for an apartment or anything before you get there. But most people figure that out in the first week or two.
Yeah, just to touch on that, that's a good point. It felt very foreign to me to like not know where I was going to live, but it's not advised nor common to sign a lease, send money before you get there. You really need to see it in person. And then if you take anything from this, the CAF, so many people lost so much money by not doing this fast enough. The second you can apply, you have to apply, because it takes months to go through, and they will back pay from the day you started your application. So I didn't receive mine until January, and I got there in October, but then they sent me all that money, what I was owed back for that. So my rent was, I believe, 380 euros, and the French government ended up paying about like 2/3 of my rent. So it's a significant amount of money that you are eligible for, that you need to sign up for ASAP. That's like the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. And like Nick said, with the French bureaucracy and everything, It's a little
It takes so
slow.
long.
So anything you can do quickly, just do it. It's going to feel overwhelming and like a lot of paperwork at first, but trust me, it'll be worth it when you're not having to wait 8 months or never getting your medical card because of the holdup. So yeah. Eligibility, here's a little bit about the eligibility. So you have to be a native English speaker, you have to be a US citizen, you have to be between 20 and 35. So basically they're looking for kind of that recent graduate age. You do need a French language proficiency, that's a B1 or above, so basically like conversational. You can go to a professor at the university to vouch for you. You can set up like a language evaluation with them, and then they'll end up writing your letter of recommendation for your language level. I think otherwise, apart from that, there's another way. I think you could take a test, like they have a certain company they work with who do language evaluations if you can't meet up with a professor for whatever reason, but the University of Kentucky has a French department. And so I think
Yeah, that's how I did mine too.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to just reach out to one of the professors. That's Dr. Human did mine, and she was awesome. And I didn't even know her before I emailed her, and she was nice enough to let me come into her office hours and do that. So they're super accommodating. That's what I would recommend. And then you need at least 3 years of your college education completed. Me and Nick had graduated already by the time we did ours, and that worked out well for both of us, I think. And so, but you can do it if you've only finished 3 years of college as well. So yeah. I want to show you some pictures of Toulouse. So Nick was in the north and I was in the south. And it was actually pretty perfect because Toulouse has a lot of international presence because there's like an Airbus factory there. And literally a third of the city works there. And it was really close to Spain. I ended up studying Spanish in college and international studies. And I always wanted to learn French because in high school, I'd taken it in middle school and then they cut the program. And I always wanted to kind of go back to that language, the language studies that I had from back then. So I ended up applying and studying in my literally I just studied French in my free time. I already spoke Spanish, so it helped, but I ended up being in Toulouse, which was perfect. You can see this was actually a picture on the street where I lived. Toulouse is known for the red bricks. So like Paris and other places will have kind of the white brick French feel, but there's like red river stones in Toulouse that they use to build everything. And so they call it La Ville Rose, like the pink city. It's really cute. You can see everything's pink and red. You can see there that I was in the south. There's Toulouse right there. On the left is a picture of a basilica, I believe, that was downtown. There was like a nice area to sit outside. I really like Toulouse. It was a good sized city for me. I want to say it was about 300,000 people. So similar to Lexington, but also with European feel. We could like bike everywhere. There were people we could meet. Well, with COVID, it was hard to meet people. And I didn't really, I had 2 American friends. I think that's next, actually. I'll show you. Okay, well, I'll show you my American friends after this. But here you can see the river. People would sit out there a lot after some of the COVID restrictions lifted. On the left, you'll see a market which it would literally set up every day except for Monday at the end of my street. If you don't know, French markets are unlike any other, and there's always fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that for great prices. And so there was one right at the end of my street, but there were easily 5 to 8 more that would be open on certain days in the city. And that was one of my favorite parts of France. So yeah. And yeah, on the left, I wanted to talk a little bit about traveling. When I was there, obviously with COVID, it was really tough. This was, I think, the only time I traveled, and it was just a picture of me in like a little town that was like a 40-minute drive from Toulouse. But normally you will be able to travel. You just have to be at the school for the days you're assigned. And so the vacation time will follow your regions, like the academic calendar of your region. I'm pretty sure it's like this in all of France, but we had 6 weeks of working and 2 weeks of vacation. And it was like that. It would be 6 weeks work, 2 weeks vacation, 6 week work, 2 weeks vacation, the whole year. And so I'm pretty sure that's how it is in every region. And it just alternates who gets 2 weeks and everything like that. But that's plenty of time to be traveling. You can leave the country if you want, as long as you, like I said, as long as you're back for work on the days you need to be there, then it's fine. And so, yeah. On the right, those are my 2 American friends. I really didn't make a ton of friends when I was there, just because COVID made it really tough, but these girls got me through it. This is Sarah and Shamika. I actually met Sarah in the airport in Paris, waiting to board the flight to Toulouse because I saw her passport and I was like, yeah, I'll just say hey. And she ended up living literally a 5-minute bike ride from me, like really close. and Shamika, they ended up meeting because Sarah posted on the Facebook group that she needed a roommate, or Shamika posted that she needed a roommate. And Sarah was just like, yeah, okay. So like I said, people will do this all the time where there will be teaching assistants in a city, and they'll just end up living together. But yeah. And then how the Office of Nationally Competitive Awards can help. So this is where we can help you. All of the things that have to do with writing. So like the application, you'll have to do a short essay. I'm pretty sure in French, right, Nick?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll have to be in French. Now
That's
we
French,
can,
yeah.
it'll have to be in French. So I don't feel qualified to help with the French portion of that, but any other application steps that you want help with, we are totally available to help you with that. And then you'll also need 2 letters of recommendation. So just keep that in mind. You'll need one just general, like professional letter, like a normal letter of recommendation, and the other to vouch for your language level. And so just be ready to get those together and tell your recommender basically what you want them to write about. Essentially, that's the best way to go about it. But apart from that, we can help you with the English draft of the essay or any other application components that you might need help with. So yeah, any questions from our one visitor?
So is a B1 just like mainly like conversational French, or like what qualifies as a B1?
That's a great question. So normally I'm gonna look up the official definition of B1. B1, it's like basic conversational, right, Nick?
Yeah, there's a better way to describe it that Calli's looking up. There's a very specific level, but no, just to put it in perspective, I started French and on a total whim. Like I was an architecture major, I got an email that was like, hey, we're starting a French night class if you're interested. So I had just wanted to learn a language, and that's how I started. I studied for 3 semesters and then studied abroad. And it was, I learned a lot that semester because 3 semesters isn't very much, but the best way I can describe it is when I felt like I could get around and I could understand most things, but my pronunciation might be wrong, or I might miss something if they were talking too fast. It's not, it's very intermediate. Like you can read signs, you can get around, you can answer, you can talk about yourself, but they want you there for your English skills. They're not going to require that you are perfect. I mean, when I got my bank account set up, I had to bring a French professor with me because I had attempted twice and I could fumble my way through the appointment, but I still needed help. So you don't have to be an expert.
Yeah, I was gonna say this unofficial definition says level B1 corresponds to independent users of the language, i.e. those who have the necessary fluency to communicate without effort with native speakers. So like basically like if you can communicate in a general way, it doesn't have to be perfect, like Nick said, then that's fine. I mean, I went and I just learned from like a podcast, and I mean, I had enough to navigate like through airports, talk about why I was like in France, ask about where things were, things like that, that basically you could feel comfortable like traveling and figuring out where you're going to go and explaining in present tense, like your situation and everything. But like I said, a professor would be able to like really give you a better perspective of that. And even if you wanted to meet with a professor well before the deadline and just see what level you have now so that you could maybe prep if you have to, then that would be a good idea too, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a military kid, so I lived in Germany for a little bit actually before I started high school. So I have got to be in like Europe a lot, and I've been to France multiple times. And like Nick said, I did kind of start French on a whim. So doing a foreign language, through Zoom was really interesting for school. I'll be starting my senior year next year, this coming year. So I was like, I feel like I'm not really, it's just like there's a block, like you're just not able to get it through a computer screen, if you know what I mean. So actually this summer I'm in language school. So like being a military kid, I'm in there with like a lot of other military people that like really they have to get like a 2+. So that's what I was asking about the B1. For them, they like do it on a number scale. So like 3 is native, 2+ is like very, very fluent. And then like a lot of people get like a 1+. So I'm in language school right now, like I said. So I'm there Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. So I think I could definitely get a B1, so that's why
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you're okay.
yeah.
You'll be fine. I mean, yeah, you'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, so it'd probably be a great idea for like the professor I have right now. She's not a UK professor, but she teaches somewhere else. Could she write me a letter maybe? Would that work? Or
I think if they're a university professor in general, I think
okay.
they can. If you go to the website, it'll tell you exactly the specifications for that though. Because sometimes they'll change like some of the requirements each year. So you can just look at the website. But I'm pretty sure it can be any university professor or any
Okay.
kind of official certified teacher.
Okay. Do you all have any? I know this is like silly, and you'll be like, oh, that's so silly. And of course, I've said like I lived there for a little bit, so I do know how to pack. But how would you all say like the best way to like pack and get like really prepared for something like this? I know that's like a broad question, but it is a lot. I know for the
Hmm.
amount of time it really is like you buy some of the essentials there and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do it 3 times at this point. So, well, I would say first it depends on where you're going. Like Nick was in the north, so it was a lot colder year round where he was. So he had to take that into account when he was packing a little more than I did. I ended up the things I bought when I got there, I bought like a really thick coat when I got there instead of packing it. I'm pretty sure I bought like a new pair of shoes. And then apart from that, just I would say just pack the essentials. And like anytime you think about packing something and wonder if it could fit or whatever, maybe think to yourself, like, would I be willing to pay X amount if the bag is overweight or whatever? Um, or I like instead of just buying it when I get there. Does that make sense?
yeah,
But it is hard, and I would say pick the things you know you wear the most,
yeah,
start with those, and then whatever room you have after that, just and shampoo and stuff you can buy there. That's
yeah.
what I did too. So
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the same thing. I took a large suitcase, a carry-on, and my backpack was my personal item, and everything was just like packed full of stuff. I also just shared a link in the chat to a website
Yeah,
called Send My Bag, and that's actually how I got my stuff home. I don't know if you've used the service before, but it was really, I remember it being very affordable. I think it was like maybe $100 or $100 or less. And the prices could have changed, but it was a really great way to get stuff home and not have to like lug this like 70-pound bag through the airport or pay the overage fee. I just like sent
that's
it
good too.
and picked it up when I got home. So honestly, if I had to do it ever again, I might have used this service both ways. So just there are other services like that, and I know a lot of assistants use this specific service without issue.
Okay,
wow, I didn't know about that.
that's
Oh,
very
sorry, I should have told you.
that's really helpful.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
What'd you say, Bailey?
You know, there's just stuff like that that you find once you are there with other people. That's what's easier too. It's great to talk to people that have gone because I mean I've done it and like lived there, but I got to live there and like my parents were there, so it's like easier in that way. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be as
Mhm.
independent. Obviously I was like 14, 15, and we got to travel a bunch, and it was easy because they could rent the car and stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
that stuff was easier. So it's great to see like stuff like that because I know me and I'll be trying to pack like 10 pairs of shoes and I'll be like, this is not working. So
Yeah, pack the absolute essentials first, I would say. And then
Yeah.
you could figure it out. But it is hard though. And it's also you have to remember like whatever you don't pack, it's still gonna be here when you come back. That's what I had to kind of remind myself. Like I don't have to pack every shirt I like. I just have to be okay with not wearing it for the next 8 months or whatever. So easier said than done. So
Yeah, and Callie mentioned this too, but the Facebook groups are a great resource, even when you're in the US. Like I remember we were asking each other like because the visa process had changed between I studied abroad 2 years before I did the TAPIF program, and the visa process had been like totally restructured. So even before I went to my visa appointment, the Facebook groups were like extremely helpful to compare information and ask questions. So if you do it, get on the Facebook group as soon as you can.
yeah, I'll definitely be doing that. Definitely for like roommates and stuff like that. People always say like that Facebook groups are like really how you can like find roommates and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
study abroad this past year, my junior year, but you know, with COVID and everything, it was like too bad. Everyone
Yeah.
got like sent home and everything like that, and people were like not even getting to go. So yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
have not been able to study abroad. But
Yeah.
Honestly, I really loved the TAPEIF program. I liked the length of it. Study abroad, I'm glad I was able to do it, but 3.5 months, like that one semester was kind of short. I felt like I was just hitting my stride with French and then it was time to come home. So this
Mhm.
7-month contract and with the ability to like extend it either way with your travel visa is like the 3 months that you get as an American citizen in the EU. It was a much better amount of time for me to like really hone my French skills and feel like I got to get the experience.
Mhm. I agree.
Now, is there you don't have to do any type of interview, right? Or do you? It's all based on your written materials. Okay,
Mhm.
that's good to know.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, one thing I would mention, Bailey, my academy, I didn't even know it existed before I was placed there on the application. They'll ask you to rank your top 3 academies that you want to be in. And it's kind of just luck, I think. I mean, if you're a master's student, I think you might have a little bit more of a priority in the line, but I would just encourage you, no matter what you get placed in, if it's not where you want it to be, keep an open mind and go check it out because I think you'll be happy wherever you get placed. But I had no idea what this town was that I was living in, but I ended up really enjoying it.
Do you all have any like preferences on academies that you all really liked or know that people like were absolutely fell in love with, or
I think it depends on the person, I think.
yeah?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the South is
Pretty
always.
easy. So
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What did
oh,
you
I
say,
said I'm like
Bailey?
pretty easy. Like it's France. Like you could pretty much
Yeah,
send me anywhere and I'd be like, yes.
yeah. The South is always really popular. A lot of people really like Lille up in the Northeast. Um, I would say probably the least populated, the Northwest and the center in between Paris and the South. I'm sure they're great places to go. I know the population is smaller in general, so there's less assistance there and maybe less of a social aspect. Not to say that you'd be alone, but I know those are the more remote places. But the South is always really popular, and of course Paris. Paris would be super fun. You just have to save much more money before you go.
Mhm.
But don't count it out. It's not impossible. I knew people that did Paris, and you make it work, and you get more assistance from the government, and you can. Callie and I both tutored on the side to make more money. I had I think there was 3 families that I tutored their kids on the side. So there's always, and
Still
Callie
think
teaches
of it.
online sometimes. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different things you can do to get more money if you need some or you want some different experience.
Did you just like tutor in English or like how did that? Was it just like
Yeah,
English?
yeah, I did. I actually texted or I Facebook messaged the assistant in Beauvais before me, and I was like, "Hey, did you ever find anyone to tutor? I'd love to do a little more and make a little bit more money." And she connected me with 3 families right off the bat. So previous assistants are a good resource for that. Or Callie, I think set that up on her own. Just um, and that might be a good thing to ask around in Facebook groups too, if you need advice on how to navigate that, because I kind of fell into it.
Mhm.
But
Well, even
there
the
are
teachers, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I was done.
I was just gonna say, even the teachers at your school, that's how I figured out mine. I only did, when I was in France, I only did private lessons with like one student, but it was literally one of my teacher's daughters who like was in a high school there. And so even just asking around, like the teachers there, they'll all have friends who are of the age of having children who they want them English, and so just asking around the school is like a great resource too. They're super helpful.
And for me and Callie, I think I speak for both of us. It was really just an extension of our assistant job. Like they know we're not teachers. They just really want their kids or their students to practice listening to a native speaker and um, the rhythm of how we speak and how different accents sound and that kind of thing. So it's pretty straightforward, even if you're not like a teacher.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Anything else we could help you with, or any other questions that come to mind?
I don't think right now. It sounds great. So
I'm gonna send my email in here. Oh yeah, good call, Nick.
Yeah, I just put my email in the chat, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to help anytime, even if you're already in France and have a question.
Yeah, same. Oh yeah, cool. Well, I guess that is it. So if anyone else who is watching this later has questions, feel free to email us, or you can even email, yeah, me or Nick would be fine, and we can answer any questions. But apart from that, thanks again, Nick, for jumping on. That was really sweet. And good luck to everybody. So,
Yeah, thank you all so much. This was great.
mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bailey.
Thanks, Bailey.
Good to meet
Appreciate
you.
it.
Bye, Bailey.
I got all the personal info, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, for sure.
You all.
Okay,
Best
bye.
of luck with your
Bye-bye.
application process. Bye.